Hi, I'm Drew.
And I'm Sam.
And welcome to Drewling Samantics.
Aha! Look at us! It's the reunion that nobody knew they wanted. Freddie Mercury and Brian Blessed.
For anybody not watching on YouTube, why not? But the other thing is, I just hasten to add that, of course, Sam is Freddie and I am Brian. But yeah, there we are. We're bearded. I'm bearded, and you are beautifully tashed, my friend. You're looking
Thank
very.
you, mate. I grew it myself.
Well, it was strange enough. So did I. But yes, but there you go, mate. Brilliant stuff.
We there's been a few times where we've sort of come into this and gone, oh, we got a comment on the facial hair, but it never gets old, really, does it? As much as we do it, it's quite entertaining. Like Christmas is a different time for our faces.
It's very specific, isn't it? I mean, Christmas is. I mean, the odd tash and the odd sort of couple of days growth here and there for different projects and parts, but this is quite specific. You know, it's like we are who we are, and it's got to be there. You know, it's very, very funny.
Yeah, I mean, I had a faulty gig a few days ago, so the moustache obviously was useful for that. And now I've got a couple of little bits, but I basically start the Christmas show next week.
Wow.
So yeah, it needs to be there anyway. So yeah, great news.
Yeah. Well, and now funny you should say faulty, because excuse me, I have a faulty gig this weekend.
And of course, this weekend coming. Not you've just had one. You've got one coming up.
I've got one coming, and I am, as you can see. Yeah, so we've got a little play around with it. We're gonna Manuel has been on his holidays and has grown a beard, much to the annoyance of Basil. So it'll be, look, Mr. Forty, you know. So we're gonna play around with it, you know.
Oh, mate, brilliant! I really just like a little, yeah,
just a little twist, because obviously it's got to stay.
Wow.
So we thought we'd play around it. So yeah, so Basil and Sybil have got a little hairy creature to deal with, and not Basil the rat.
Right. Okay. Again, that could have gone all sorts of ways, but you saved it. I mean,
I stopped just in time, didn't I?
No, I don't think you did. I don't think you did. But I think we could all fill in blanks, but anyway,
know where we are.
So a very Faulty Towers themed opening, and. Yeah. I think, and I know that actually you'll want to do it, but we do need to mention something that happened. It's not. I mean, it's recent, definitely recent, but not within the last week or so. It's not this week's news, but it's something that's had an enormous impact on both of us.
Very much so.
Equally, an enormous impact on your wife, and what. I'm going to let you talk about this, because as much as I've been a Faulty fan as long as I can remember, and have had a lot to do with Faulty in my career, nowhere near what you and Verona have had to do. So I'm going to hand over to you, mate, because I know you want to talk about this a bit.
Well, yeah, it's. I hadn't really. I mean, when Andrew Sachs passed away, that was a big hit, because that was my character. But I don't know what it is about Prunella Scales. I mean, I've known of her even before, you know, because she went to drama school with my drama teacher.
Oh, really?
When I was a child, yeah. My old drama teacher Betty, and so they were contemporaries. So I always knew of her, and she my drama teacher, that is Betty, would quote her or would use her as an example of someone who had beautiful voice, beautiful. I mean, Betty did as well. So she would use Prunella Scales as an example. Say, look, this is a beautiful voice, and also it's a voice that is very malleable and it can go in different places. And when you hear her speak, and when you know and watch her classically, she had a wonderful classical voice. But then there's that voice that what she became uber famous for, is, you know, that the laugh and the Basil, you know, that can shatter glass, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, so yes, that I knew of her before, and then you know, shortly after starting my drama classes. You know, I was about 14, 15, and then up popped 40, and there she was as Sybil. You know, that you could never forget her. And I never knew then. You know, it's a bit sort of strange. You know, I kind of forgot about 40 Towers. You know, I'd watch them occasionally if they came on television. But when I was growing up, there wasn't all the streaming channels, wasn't all that stuff. So you saw them, and then if you videoed them, great. But if they came round on repeat, that's when you would see them. Yeah. And it's only, you know, later they came back on television, and then I started to do Manuel and the dinner shows and the interactive stuff, and it's become a huge part of my life. And then when Verona, my better half, started to play Sybil many years ago with Ed, our lovely Drewling Samantics guest of many moons ago, Ed Wells. It's kind of like we are a little family. We are that little three, with an occasional Polly, but and we watched her. I watched her do the canal journeys with Timothy West, and they're just. I mean, when he died, I was gutted. When she passed away the other week, it was very, very. It was like losing someone very close to me, because not only had I used the word Sybil tens of thousands of times in my career, you know, also I watched the series thousands of times, and it's you know, and yeah, it was very, very, very touching and very, very moving to you know, it was a big old loss. And I know Verona was kind of like, oh, that's oh wow, you know. And we watched, you know, her and Timothy and the I've got relatives, and a couple of aunts have passed away that suffer with dementia and Alzheimer's, and to see her decline, but a beautiful decline in so much as it sounds contradiction in terms, but she was so graceful, and she knew, and with Timothy's, you know, support and that, she really dealt with it. They dealt with it incredibly well, but you could see by watching them when they were together how torn apart they were by it. And if anything underlined for me how awful that disease, that illness is, that was watching her decline, very public decline, a very honest decline.
Well, I mean, say that's part of the power of it, the bravery to not sort of hide it from public eye, but to embrace it and go, look, this is the situation, but people need to be aware, and it's not something to be embarrassed about, or something to keep as that story that isn't told. People need to know, and equally the support that can be there. So
yes,
she was almost a martyr for that, like an example of, look, this is real. And we've had, sadly, lots of people who have suffered from different diseases or issues that have sort of gone on. Look, you can, quite recently, a lot of things like MND, and a lot of sports people sort of going, look what is happening. We need to be aware of these things. So to have almost a spokesperson, she was just an incredibly brave, incredibly powerful woman to carry on as she did in that way.
And also, they produced three very, very talented, you know, offspring, with Sam, Joseph, and Juliet, who was Timothy's daughter, you know, and Prue's stepdaughter. I mean, three incredibly talented, you know, creatives and actors. And you think, well, you know, hats off to you if you know. I mean, they were both brilliant, you know, but they've given us a dynasty, and that's kind of, you know, that's kind of to be applauded as well. But
yeah, I mean, in seasons gone by, we try and sort of regularly do, I was going to say shout outs, it's a very crude way of putting it, but we'd remember people when we heard of passings. We sort of eased off that because we found it was sadly so regular that we didn't want it to be a constant sort of, oh God, what this time?
Yeah, who are they going to tell us about this week?
Yeah, and that's not a disrespectful thing. We still want to remember those who have sadly passed and have left an incredible legacy, or that we've celebrated their careers. But sometimes there are just certain people who resonate more. We mentioned specifically John Challis when he passed, because I'd had such an affiliation
Yeah.
with the character that he'd created and envisioned. And I mean, you only have to look at the tributes that have been on social media, etc., and particularly John Cleese's words to a woman who, yes, he and Connie Booth wrote the character, create the character, but she really brought Sybil to life, and he owes a lot to her, and he said as such.
I
And
mean,
yeah, this one just not meant more in the sense that her death is more symbolic, but the resonance in a lot of what we talk about, those links are
yes,
there.
yeah. It's she's, you know, Faulty has been a kind of constant, you know, and yeah, they've kind of always been there, you know. And it's like, yeah, you say it's I would say it was like losing a family member. It was very, very odd. And I know we don't want to make this an obituary episode being the last of this, but I would just like to pay tribute to one other actor who we lost recently, and that was Nabil Shaban, who was the disabled actor, which sounds awful, but an actor with disabilities, who was so influential and and so determined to overcome his disabilities, and also was an amazing advocate for people with disabilities, also, you know, actors with disabilities, you know, and he was co-founder of Grey Eye, who, I mean, I've seen some incredible work by them, and incredibly groundbreaking work, you know, even for you know, over and above the able-bodied actors, they you know, they were doing stuff that, you know, it was just incredible. So I did a little personal, you know, tribute. I once, I think I told this story. I once, I was rehearsing, and I'd not long been out of drama school. I was rehearsing a play I think it was in Borough, and we came out of our rehearsal room, and Grey Eye were rehearsing next door, and there was this, and I didn't meet. I know he was there, but I didn't get to meet him. But I met, and we were just, and the energy that came out of that room, and I was, you know, I was young, believe it or not, Sam. You know, I was young,
There must have been a point where you were young. I do believe.
Well, yeah, you know, it's yes. But I thought I had energy, but you know, I was chatting to one of the guys one day, and he said, you know, we come in every day, we work like you guys work, but he said, you've got to remember, for us, he said, there's all sorts of, and he was very funny. He said, there's all sorts of stuff going on. He said, the simple fact, he said, we you know, you have 10 minutes for a tea break. He said, we have half an hour. He said, because by the time we got all the metal work down the stairs to go for a pee, got us all back upstairs. He said, some of us can walk, some of us can. He said, it's a bloody nightmare. And they were hysterical, you know, and his parting shot was, and I said, you know, what you guys doing? And he just looked at me with this, I can't remember his name, a wonderful, lovely guy, but total deadpan face. And I said, what are you guys rehearsing? And he went, well, a ballet, of course. And walked away. And I thought same as you. I thought, are you taking the piss? No, it was a ballet.
Oh, it was.
It was, and they I can't remember. It toured, did a big national tour, and yeah, but it was a ballet. But yeah, but it was, and that was, you know, you know, I said his, you know, because I would wanted to meet Nabil, and because I was enormously, you know, influenced and you know, just an amazing actor, but he wasn't around, unfortunately. But the one thing that he did do that he was, I think, he created one of the best Doctor Who villains in Syl. He was one of the best, and I mean, quite apart from anything else, I mean, he had that wonderful voice and an incredible presence. And people say, "Oh, yeah, you could go a long way to beat that." But a very influential man, and certainly we've had a couple of guests on that have benefited by his, you know, his influence over the years, and you know, and helped actors with disability, and you know, a man to be applauded. And And also he had many honorary doctorates as well. I think he kind of collected them, but it was just how people, showed their respect and esteem for me. Yeah. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because we talk about, being influenced by afar, and then someone like Prunella, who's touched our lives and our professions. It's very interesting, that kind of influence that you look at people and I don't copy their work. I don't do anything, but you hope to be as good and as influential and do things as well as they did. And I think, there are, I don't know, very, very few people around now that you think. Here's one for you then. Is there anyone around now? Here we go. I was trying to put it into words. Here's one for you. For a little conundrum for our last You and Me episode of season 14. Is there anyone around now that you think I really would like to work with them?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm taking this as you're asking this slightly, not just like, oh my God, they're amazing, I want to work with them just because of who they are, but more from an influence and inspirational, that kind of...
Yeah, and someone you think you could learn from, if you know what I mean by that.
Okay, so I'm going to go big off the bat, and take this how you will. The name who immediately springs to mind is Robert Downey Jr. And number one, huge fan of Marvel and Tony Stark and Iron Man. Yeah. Intrigued by what he's going to do with Doctor Doom in the next, what a mind-blowing reveal that was, that he's back. But so I mean, a lot of people, I say a lot, a few people have played multiple roles across the Marvel universe and multiple superheroes, but that's quite, from such a massive character to such a massive character, from such a massive hero to such a massive villain. Like, wow. But the reason I mention him is because if you were to talk about people turning their lives around and going against all odds and that sort of thing, I don't think many are out there that are sort of what he had to overcome, the adversity of addicted to drugs and alcohol at such a young age, and the problems with the police and all those sorts of things, addictions and jail sentences and things like that, to then come out the other side of that. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure he'd be the first to admit he was very lucky to get given opportunities despite what he'd been through and what he'd done and things like that. But to turn himself from rock bottom, or take himself from rock bottom to possibly the most successful actor, or one of the highest earning and most recognizable actors of an era.
Yeah.
I'd love to work with him, just to like hear stories and kind of go to find out how you do that, how you that meteoric rise like that. So I'm not quite sure if that answers the question in the way you thought it might be answered. But
it does. It does answer. And it's also, you talk about his rise and fall, his fall and rise rather. He lived that very openly as well. I mean, he was chased by the press, but he never forced it away, never hid it. He's been very honest about it, and I think that must be, I don't know, that's his core strength, is his honesty. And also, you look at him and you go, he's a man who's having a fucking wonderful time. Doing it well, but he's having a bloody wonderful time, isn't he? Yeah. It's interesting you should say someone who because if I'm going to turn the question back to me, if I could, and just get it in time, I think it would be Anthony Hopkins for me. I just love... I heard an interview with him a little while back, recorded a couple of years ago, I think about 2 years ago. And I know he's upset a few people, with what he said recently. But, I mean, that is someone who has an opinion. And, rightly or wrongly, I don't necessarily agree with what he's saying, but he has a right to say it. And I think some of it is a little done for a little show as well. I think he still has that, senior statesman. I'm going to be a little bit egotistical here, but I love his. I mean, the fact that he turned round, drink and alcoholism, and as he said himself, he was a miserable Welsh bastard, and he turned it round, and I just love his. I saw him in a play in the National many years ago called Pravda, and he was extraordinary. I mean, there was this huge, massive character on stage, and then they did a question and answer session afterwards, and he was sitting there very quiet, and then someone asked him a question about this ridiculous South African newspaper lord that he was playing, who was a complete bastard. And he said, he said, oh, well, it's just a part, isn't it? He said, I'm not like that, really. I said, I'm quite nice, actually, And he said, I wouldn't bully people. I don't believe in bullying people. And there was this lovely story and lovely man. And you think, yeah, that's what's acting about. That's you be able to unzip the character, put it away. Yeah. And I just admired his technique and his gentle qualities, and you watch that man in Silence of the Lambs, and then you see, some of the beautiful, quiet. I mean, the one I can't remember the name of the film, but where he played, his daughter. He's suffering out with Alzheimer's.
Oh, he won an Oscar for it, didn't he? Recently?
Yeah, I can't remember the title of the film, but I mean, just superb. And you think it's that range as a character actor I admire.
He's also annoyingly talented. Hasn't he composed some waltzes? He's
he writes music
composer.
Yeah, he composes music. He writes, he writes essays and books and poetry, and you just think. But I just imagine someone, and I know for myself, as you start to get slightly older, and he is older and slowing down, and the film roles are, he's got to think about. He said, I got to think carefully about taking something on, where I got the energy for it. Can I give what I gave in the past? So you sit there and you think, well, I'm not going to do anything. He doesn't have to work, of course, but he's going to want to. So that creativity has got to go somewhere. So if you've got the ability to write and compose, and that's where it's going to go. Yeah. But yeah, sickeningly talented man, and that's who I'd like to,
Can I throw another one in? And it's
go.
Funny,
yeah.
Another one who perhaps people have certain opinions of and might not agree with historically things that have happened. Will Smith, and I'm basing that purely from a selfish level on wanting to learn from someone, because regardless of whether you like things he's done or he hasn't done, and opinions and things like that, you cannot fault the man when it comes to versatility. You look at historically the roles he's played. Like I cannot think of many, if any, who are up there at that level, with going from crazy action to comedy to real heartfelt to on the edge to just a genuinely what's the word, like just malleable into all different kind of
massive range. I can see. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of somebody else, but nothing springs to mind immediately at the moment.
But that must be the thing. Like, the fact that no one else is springing to mind is that these people are so special in that in that respect. Whether it be they are a performance chameleon, or someone who's overcome, or someone who is just downright brilliant, but so different to what they do, like real big traits. But I think the thing they all represent is we'd like to learn from them all.
Yes,
and that's perhaps is it a sign of what we do, that not that I want to do what they do, I want to be able to do things that they can do. Does that make sense? Like we're always wanting to progress, and I'm not sure you get that in all kind of vocations.
Well, I think I suppose because the thing about I've mentioned it a couple of times, but the thing about as you get older, and I mean, I look at things that I did. Obviously, I can't do the things I did when I was younger. That's obvious. but you still think, I still want to bring that energy. I still want to, and we don't, we can keep going and we can keep learning and keep improving, and you learn how to work around not being able to do something, or there's things I can do now that I couldn't do, 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And there are things ways of acting and ways of working, that I think I've waited a long time to play this kind of character role and play this kind of stuff. And it's, I think, and that thing, as you say, of learning and improving and looking at, working with someone who can teach you something that you carry on with, interestingly, I worked with a couple of people during the summer. I worked with a young actor, Alex, and he's a fabulous actor, and he has a wonderful. I mean, Alex, if you're watching or listening, thumbs up, mate, because he's one of the most relaxed actors I've ever seen. He's that, swan on the top, legs going like buggery underneath, because we were all under, pressure to learn quickly and produce stuff quickly. But he was lovely to work with, because he would change things every night. There would be something different, and he would look at you in a different way, and we would play scenes, and there would be so much twinkling between and so much energy, and it was all because he just, he loved what he was doing. And he said, I'm always he said, I'm always on the edge of just going, yeah, like this. He said, I can't believe I'm doing it, So that, I learned that, actually, just chill out, Drew, and enjoy it, Don't take it too seriously. No one dies doing this job. Well, it won't kill you. You just learn to, don't cock it up tomorrow night. But it is one of those things, and you think, that was that. I was taught something by a younger actor, which is nice. Yeah.
But I think what we're doing right now is reflecting on the joy we have for what we do, the fact that we do want it to continue. I'm in my 30s, you're in your 130s, so we've got that whole sort of scale between us. You've lived a much longer career than I have, you've experienced much more, so I look to you as a role model to go, I want to be where you are when I'm your age. I want to still be doing this, and I think equally that's the reason why we're here talking about the podcast, and talking about our work on a podcast, because we want to share the love that we have for it with people that also have a love for it, but people that are intrigued by what we do and aren't perhaps lucky enough to do what we do, and don't understand what we do but want to understand it more. So I think the opportunities we have in a work sense, and the opportunity we have in the podcast sense to talk about those opportunity inception going on here, but I think this almost sums everything up. The joy of what we do and the passion for what we do is what got us to where we are now in every respect. Be that Drewling Samantics, be that the theatre work, be that anything. And I feel honoured to be able to talk about something that I love so much, but have been given this opportunity and have fought hard for. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Do. So it's so I got a bit philosophical and sort of deep there, but I
think you're right, Sam. I was going to say, looking back over this season, that the people that we've had on that have come from so many different directions into the business, or working their way through, and then we had someone, in Albert, who is examining. Performers, and going, that's how that works. Can I help you with that? And as an agent and the psychology of acting, it was very interesting to, he was in the middle of the mix there, and spinning off of that have been people who've come from all different, ways of entering the business, doing things, writers and choreographers and, actors and we've all, everyone's creative, but everyone wants to talk about it, and everyone wants to because we're all enjoying it so much, and
it's a joy that we have a platform that allows people to do that.
Talk
so passionately about what they do why they do it, how they got there, adversities they've overcome, and other things they've experienced on that road. And do you know what, mate? I am so pleased that we can continue doing this. I think we have a great opportunity in this, and people out there listening and watching, hopefully this kind of represents the reasons that you are here as well, because you want to learn more about people, you want to hear their crazy stories, whether it's something really quite shocking and scary, or whether it's something absolutely ridiculous or rude, or whatever it happens to be. Everyone's stories are worth telling, and we as performers are storytellers, but equally as hosts of this show are sort of facilitating more stories being told. And yeah, I feel this kind of weird kind of like satisfaction and honor in the same thing to be able to do that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if you think, when you said something very much that we love what we're doing, and it was because when it was taken away for us during the unwelcome guest, the only thing we could do was talk about it and share the fact that we weren't doing it. And then as soon as we were allowed to do it again, we've had even more passion and enjoyment. So it's funny where excuse me, Drewling Samantics came from and where it's going and who's joined us on that journey.
Yeah,
I mean, 200 odd episodes now, mate. So
yeah. But any boredom creeping in, mate, or are you still just as ready?
No, interestingly, I was thinking about that coming up to the end of a season. We're not quite there yet. We've got the best ofs coming up, of course.
Yeah.
But, I was just thinking about going, have we still got, there's so much to talk about. Yeah. There's so much to enjoy, and so many guests and people that we can invite on. You think, there's loads, there's loads to talk about.
Oh, so much. And you think of all the things we've covered, and people go, I've actually had people ask me, how do you come up with stuff to talk about, and how do you keep going? Because yes, there are lots of podcasts out there that have talked a lot more, done a lot more than we have, but there are also a lot that never make it this far because they sort of run out of steam. But I think we work in a world that just keeps giving us more, and there's always something to talk about, and always something changing. And a silly example, we talked about the sort of the court case between Equity and Spotlight, and that's now been given more legs because the appeal's been approved. So that's a story that we'll have coming up, so we'll be able to pick back up on something we've already talked about. The growth of AI, it's unavoidable, it's beautiful and massively useful in some ways, it's terrifying in others. That's always going to be a storyline. And as you say, there are so many more people that we want to talk to, and people that we know we've already got queued up to talk to. So as much as this is another end of a season, as you say, we've got the 2 best of episodes, but this is the last sort of new episode of the season. There's so much more to come. So it is literally a pause. It's never a kind of we're coming to the end of something. It's just we're taking a slight breather while we regather thoughts and do something slightly different for a little bit. But we will be back with just as much to talk about, just as much ridiculous banter and Mickey taking and God knows what else. And all those fun little things that kind of make us who we are. But equally, the hard-hitting topics that are relevant to the industry and the brilliant guests. I'm just so excited to keep doing this. And
it is good fun, mate. It's great fun, and we're, as you said, we're very privileged to be able to be this far and to have more to do.
Yeah.
But,
of course, we do owe that to everyone out there. So
we do.
Listening and watching. Genuinely, we say at the end of every season a massive thank you, and we say it other times as well. But we do mean it, because if you weren't there, this would just be 2 very egotistical people talking at each other and imagining they've got an audience. But you are there, and that's what justifies what we do to an extent, but also keeps us wanting to do it more. Because all those the little comments or the little references or people reaching out and just going, that was great, or really enjoyed that, or I had no idea about that, or thank you for talking about that, or that person, wow, I didn't know they... All those little things just make this what it is. And yeah, long may it continue, mate.
Long may we continue, mate. Absolutely, absolutely.
But we do have to
Yes.
stop for a bit because we've got to justify this ridiculous facial hair.
I was about to say we've got to take this face fur on holiday somewhere, haven't we? And display it to the world.
Yes. So to everyone who has listened and watched over the past season and the past 13 seasons before that, unbelievable. Thank you so very much. If you can't go without us for a few weeks, go back and listen or watch some of the old ones. We've got 2 best of episodes coming up. And if you're really desperate, go and see Drew as Santa or come and see me as Captain Hook if you really want to, if you're near London or if you want to travel to London. We'd love to see you. But other than that, I'm going to raise my healthy drink. I might not be healthy next time.
No, I don't do. Yeah, I've got tea today, not coffee. So we're both scaling down a bit. Yeah.
Speaking of boring, how about that? No, another huge thank you to everyone. Thank you so very much for joining us for season 14. Come back next week for the highlights of our guest episodes. Watching those back's been brilliant, picking out those clips. Yeah, some amazing ones. And then the same again the following week. Then we're away for, was it about 5-6 weeks? Something like that. I can't quite...
Something like that, yeah.
I can't remember how many. But we are back in January, back in 2026, a brand new year. Still the same old Drewling Samantics, still the same old me, still the same very old him. But with plenty of new stuff to bring you, some new fabulous guests. And just lots more industry stuff.
And we could be clean shaven. Who knows?
Never know. You
never know.
Which, if you're listening to the podcast rather than watching it, makes not a fuss of difference whatsoever.
So, mate,
it
was
See you all later on. Take care.
Take care, everyone.
Big love, mate. See you later.
Bye-bye, people. Bye-bye, Sam.
Thanks again for watching this episode of Drewling Samantics.
Please make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video.
Don't forget, we're also available as audio only. Just search Drewling Samantics in any good podcast app. And please support us on social media. All our links and handles are on screen now.
We love welcoming new followers and subscribers, so why not share with your family and friends so they can join in too? Thanks very much. See you next time.